Hello out there, my name is Milesy and welcome to my channel. Today we're doing another portrait from Little Beirut. This is Penny. She has shown up in Mount Tabor so far. That's the second book. This is a fiction series that my husband and I have been working on. And I started to do this once before. If you're in the Discord, you might have seen a false start on this where I was putting it on some bigger paper. But I was using glossy paint, and I really don't like glossy paint, so it kind of didn't work. But right now I'm just doing some homemade carbon paper, which all you need is a soft graphite pencil and a printout of what you're trying to transfer. And I'm going to use this to put this on some of the primed canvas from last week. And this is something that I haven't really done too much lately. I kind of miss doing this sort of stuff. It's a lot of fun. And all we need to do is just scrape that graphite from the first side over by just roughly scribbling out. It doesn't really matter where the lines go because we only put graphite where it needs to be. But this piece had a lot of issues. It had a lot of issues. If I could redo this, I would change a lot of things. I could redo it. I'm not going to. I've already done it twice, but I'll just talk a little bit about my painting process because this is kind of a weird, complicated one. But basically, I start off by doing the colors that are on the back first. So I know that her ears and her eyes are going to be covered up by some dry brushing. So that's what I was just doing first. I was putting that base color down so that I could dry brush over it later. And dry brushing is just where you have such little paint on your brush that it feels almost dry, and that's how you get that really nice, light, feathery look to your paint sometimes. The paint that I'm using is nothing special. It's mostly Apple Barrel and Folk Art, which are really cheap. I think they're like $1 each at the craft store. Some of this might be so old that it's actually Delta brand, which I don't think Delta has been around for over a decade. I've got some really old paint. And the way that I do this, I have my palette over there on the side, but I don't mix my paints in the palette. Everything that I have used, except for the black at the end, every color that I've used was something that I mixed either before this and had on hand or specifically for this. And I think most of the colors were mixed specifically for this. And I actually use little empty bottles, and I mix way more than I'll ever need. But that way, if I need to go back and do some touch-ups, or it takes me more than a day to do, my color will stay consistent throughout the entire project. So that's why I do it that way. If I mix it on the palette, what winds up happening is it will dry out and clump, and then I need to try to mix more so that it matches the same color, and it never does. Or if I wind up taking 2 or 3 days, the paint will probably dry out on the palette. If I cover it up, it usually just winds up really messy and nasty anyway, so the bottles are a lot easier. I don't really use really nice expensive paints though. I never have. I really like these cheap craft paints because you get really rich, opaque color. They don't really blend as well as some of the more expensive name brand acrylics, but for this style of paint, the really cheap ones are actually much preferred. You'll also notice I'm using 2 very small brushes. For the vast majority of this piece, I was using a size 1 liner, and I think either a size 1 or a size 0 detailer. I use really small brushes because they're easier to control. I don't have to worry about going over areas to fix little mistakes where paint has gone where it shouldn't have. For the most part, with these really small brushes, I can control the paint and put it exactly where I want it to be. And then I don't have to do as many layers and as many fixes and touch-ups. So even here on her face where I'm using, or where I have this really big area, I'm still using my little detail brush. And this was also where I noticed that I was mixing the colors wrong. Because this character, Penny, she is a jackrabbit, or a hare, and she's supposed to have really warm tones, more brown than gray, and when I mixed them in the bottles, They seemed like they were the right color, but once they were on the canvas, it just turned really gray, and the colors almost seemed too cool. They weren't warm enough. I'm not really sure what happened. I was kind of tempted to try to start over, but like I said, this was already the second time I had done this. I didn't want to try to do it a third time. And I think if I do, or when I do another big piece like this, it won't be on live stream like this was. If you follow me on Twitch, you might have seen me doing this on Twitch on a live stream maybe about a week ago. I would need to check my texts, my messages, to figure out the exact date that I did this. But a funny story about doing this piece, because I was on stream and there's a lot of downtime with painting that you don't see. I cut out a lot of dead air. I have to let a lot of this dry. So there was a lot of time spent just chatting with folks watching the stream while I was waiting for the paint to dry. And at one point I had this idea that my brother's birthday was coming up soon. Like at the end of September, so not super soon. And I knew that he was expecting a baby around about his birthday. And we have this really weird tradition in my family where people lose their birthdays either to babies or to holidays. So he would have been like the third or fourth person to lose his birthday to his baby. And on stream, I decided, you know what, it would be really funny if I sent him his birthday gift an entire month early, and I just stuffed it full of diapers and baby clothes. So, at one point while I was waiting for paint to dry, I went on Amazon, I grabbed a big case of diapers and a whole bunch of really cute onesies, and I sent them to him. And after the stream, I sent him a text with the tracking number telling him that I sent him something and to watch out for it, and 10 minutes later, he sent me a picture of his new baby. She was born a month early, but she is healthy, she's at home, they're doing pretty good. So apparently my idea to just be a big pain in the ass and send him a bunch of diapers and stuff early wound up actually being a pretty fortuitous thing. So I thought I was being funny. It turns out I might just be a witch. So if you were watching that stream and you saw me buying a bunch of baby stuff, that is the result of that. A bunch of baby stuff wound up arriving exactly on time, so that was fun. But at this point, I'm just laying down color, trying to cover up a lot of that dry brushing from before that went over her ears. And with the paint in her hair, I was kind of having some issue because it was really transparent. And paint can be either transparent and opaque, and there are different ways that it can be one of those. It can be really opaque, it can be really transparent, it can be somewhere in between. And up until now, all of it had really covered the canvas underneath it. But you can see with the orange how it's just really splotchy, and there's some really dark areas and some really light areas. And that was getting kind of irritating because the pencil lines that I have down, I can't really cover those over because I need to go over them with black later. So something like this, it's a lot easier to lay down the color consistently when you can do it just all at once. And there are other ways to do the lines, but I didn't have the line art really consistently put down. The line art that I used was a sketch to begin with. I didn't really feel like inking it. I could have. I probably should have. It would have made this a lot easier. But you can use masking fluid, which I think I flash on the camera a couple of times, or you can use masking tape. I've never had good results with both. Every time I try to use the masking tape, I wind up accidentally cutting into my canvas. Every time I try to use the masking fluid, it doesn't go on as smoothly as I would like it to, and I wind up ruining a paintbrush. So I kind of did it the hard way, where I just painted around the lines that I had down. And this shirt here caused so many problems. Not all of the problems, but it caused some problems. So at first I tried to put down a lighter blue that was kind of shimmery. It was a paint that I had mixed from medium and some pigment that I got. And for some reason, it did not want to stick to this primed canvas. So I know that for the future, that the paint that I mixed, which you'll actually see that in a future video, I can't use on these pieces. They don't work, which is very unfortunate because it caused a lot of issues later. So that is something that I would definitely change if I had done this again. And the other thing that just went all kinds of wrong with this is right now I am blocking out where the shading should go, and I know my hair's in the way. I can't really do much about that now, but I'm blocking out where the shading should go. And normally what I would have done is for every color that is down on the canvas, I would have made 3 shades. So there's the mid-tone that's down on the canvas. I would have also made a darker one for the shadow and a lighter one for the highlight, and I didn't do that because at this point I'd already been working on it for about 6 hours if you include the trace. So I was done. I was very done. I wanted to go do something else. I was hungry. I was tired. So I decided instead that what I was going to do was an acrylic wash. And it's something I've done before with varying degrees of success, but for some reason this one just didn't work. Sometimes I'd put it down and it would be really transparent, and then the next stroke it was really dark and opaque. So I couldn't really control it. I couldn't keep it consistent, which meant I had to put down so many layers to even it out. And she wound up really splotchy and kind of not very nice, and it made me kind of sad. But that wasn't even the worst of it. Her face is really splotchy, which was mostly fixed. It just took a lot of layers. The biggest problem that I had with this was that first layer of paint with my home mixed stuff that didn't stick to the canvas. For some reason, the wash that I put down on top of it lifted everything off. And you'll see that in a little bit, where painting over her shirt starts to turn it white instead of darkens it. So I don't think I can really handle doing another wash like this again, just because it went so poorly. I think the next time I do this, I'm not going to stream it, and I'm going to take my time, take several days with it, maybe do the base coats on one day, and then go over it with the shadow and the highlight the next. I also want to do the next piece on a bigger canvas so that I have room to do smoother, more consistent line art, because this one, by the time I got to the line art, I was so fed up with her colors not being right, with the wash not turning out very well, with her shirt lifting up, with the background having issues, because the paint that I used on the background was obscenely transparent, and I just did not have the patience to do 3 or 4 layers like I should have done, so I just slapped the lines on at the end and decided I was done. She didn't turn out too bad, though. She could have turned out a lot better, but she did not turn out as bad as she looks right now. Like, I think I overworked it, for one. Definitely overworked the wash. Should have just let it be kind of streaky, not done exactly what I did. I just flashed the masking fluid again there. But yeah, I think the next time I do one of these, I'm not going to do what I did here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave you with the rest of this so that you can watch the absolute failure kind of turn into a bit less of a failure. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing, all that fun stuff. If you liked the video, please give this a share, because that does really help me out a lot. And I will see you next time. Bye!